Good morning, 4:37. In Farm News this morning, as we reported to you Friday morning, just 7 hours before it was set to go into effect, an injunction blocking the Waters of the U.S. rule came out of Fargo Federal Court. At midnight, the EPA was going to give itself greater federal oversight to bodies of water throughout the country. U.S. District Judge Ralph Erickson said the EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers violated the congressional intent of the amount of authority granted it in the original Clean Water Act in the 1970s. But the EPA said that by clearly defining which waterways are protected, the new rule would reduce the amount of resources spent on case-by-case specific violations. Farmers and ranchers have been fighting to block implementation for over a year. And again, two other federal courts, one in Georgia, the other in West Virginia, Thursday refused to issue injunctions, saying they lacked authority to do so. The injunction will allow the states and other plaintiffs to make their legal case before the rule goes into effect. North Dakota Congressman Kevin Cramer applauding Erickson's decision.
I think in this particular rule, in this particular case, there's a strong constitutional argument that says, hey, federal government, you have minimal influence, you have minimal jurisdiction. The vast majority of jurisdiction over waters belongs to the states, not to the federal government, and the rights of the private landowner have to be paramount.
Senator Heitkamp backing a bipartisan bill which she said would force the EPA to work directly with farmers, ranchers, and others to redo the rule. The fourth quarter outlook for U.S. ag exports expects fiscal year 2016 ag exports to be $138.5 billion, down $1 billion from the last forecast. Oilseeds led the decline, down $4.4 billion. Grain and feed, however, expected to be $1.1 billion higher than the previous forecast, mostly due to higher expected shipments of wheat. Livestock, poultry, and dairy exports up by $600 million. As the Republican candidates continue to spar over immigration reform, there's a group in Wisconsin watching this argument very carefully. Dairy farmers say they'd like the conversation on the issue to shift. Immigrant labor makes up a huge part of the Wisconsin dairy workforce now, but farmers say they'd like to allow even more workers on the farm. A UW-Madison study tallied the number of immigrant workers on dairies at 40% a year ago. Farmers say it could be larger now. At Rosie Lane Holstein's outside Watertown, Wisconsin, immigrants are half their workforce. Owner Lloyd Holterman says rather than focusing on deportation, he'd like candidates to look at guest worker programs.
The state of Wisconsin really is set up to increase output in dairy, but we really do lack the necessary people to do these jobs, to expand our businesses, to expand our operations, which leads to more tax revenue, more exports, and cheaper food at a more economical price for the consumers.
Holterman says he has 10 immigrant workers on staff now out of the 20 that he hires. He says each are required to show 2 forms of ID which are submitted to the government, and they are notified if something is flagged. For his part, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker has said his immigration plan would not include amnesty or a pathway to citizenship for those here illegally. And he says it will focus on, quote, protecting American workers and wages. Time is 4:41. Time now for Iron Monday, the latest machinery news. In farming, autonomous is not just for small aircraft. Here's a look at the driverless tractor and grain cart system from Kinsey.
There's still been a lot of conversation about the Kinsey autonomy system, which is the truly driverless tractor and system that we've had on our Kinsey grain carts to ease, some of the labor issues that we've got out there and make sure that harvest stays efficient.
That's been out for how many years now?
We're in our 3rd season with that, and this year the challenge to us at Kinsey was multiple machines in the same field. Hey, I've got a larger size field. I want to run 2 combines and 2 grain carts, so that's what we've done. And what that allows the combine operators to do is when they push the button in the cab that says, hey, it's time for me to unload, the closest cart to them will be there as quickly as possible and take the most efficient path back to the truck.
This autonomy of machines and having machines coordinate with one another, You're on the cutting edge of that, aren't you?
Yes, Kinze was the first to release the fully autonomous system here several years ago, and it really has come a long way, and as we add multiple machines, we're seeing greater and greater impact. Certainly can be adapted to many different tractors of different sizes. Right now, we've simply matched that horsepower to the grain carts that are being used in the field demonstration.
All right, and what size grain carts are available?
1,000, 1,100 bushel, 1,300 bushel, and 1,500 bushel sizes. The website, Mick, is kinze.com, Kinze.com.
And how does that happen? Well, autonomous equipment operation is controlled through a band of frequencies known as TV white space. Last month, Deere & Company filed a request for a waiver to the Federal Communications Commission. TV white space ruled to permit the use of a device for control of what is legally called non-fixed agricultural applications. Specifically, Deere wants higher power data transmission between several off-road ag implements such as tractors, self-propelled harvesting machines, sprayers, and grain carts. Say hello to the future. And that's our Iron Monday, brought to you by Degelman. Time is 4:43. Right after the break, we're checking out the forecast and seeing where those thunder showers are headed. That's a thunderstorm, though, heading out of Ramsey into southeastern Cavalier County this morning.